The new CFO summoned me to the boardroom unexpectedly. "Jennifer, after 14 years, your financial strategy is outdated," he explained smugly. "We need you gone by tomorrow." I thanked him for the opportunity and left gracefully. He seemed confused by my calm demeanor. The moment he called my name over the intercom, I knew something was off. "My name is Jennifer Hayes. I've been the Senior Director of Financial Strategy at Halverson and Knox for over 14 years, and in all those years, not once had the CFO personally summoned me to the 36th floor boardroom. The moment I stepped in, the tone was set. Curtains drawn, glass doors shut behind me. The new CFO, Nathan Vaughn, fresh from a tech conglomerate in San Diego, didn't even stand to greet me. His silver tie was too tight, like he was trying to impress someone who wasn't in the room. "Jennifer," he said, not looking up from the quarterly spreadsheet, "your financial strategy is outdated." Outdated. 14 years of stabilizing this company through 2 recessions, 4 acquisitions, and a CEO embezzlement scandal. And I was outdated. "We need you gone by tomorrow," he added, with a smirk too smooth for someone who clearly rehearsed the line. I thanked him. Calmly, professionally. I even smiled a little. His face faltered just for a second. I left without asking questions, without defending myself, without emotion. Because something wasn't right. I didn't lose my job. I was being removed. There's a difference. By the time I reached my floor, my access badge had stopped working. My folder permissions revoked, my inbox was locked. It wasn't just a dismissal. It was a wipeout. I stood at the edge of the open office, watching my team type away, unaware. I didn't tell anyone what had just happened. Not yet. Instead, I walked straight to the server room. I had memorized my own backdoor protocol years ago during a budgeting blackout weekend. It was buried under old layers of deprecated code. Nothing malicious, just visibility. A read-only path through the financial ecosystem of the company. Something I had built when the CFO at the time trusted me to monitor anomalies. That access still worked, and what I saw that night in the unedited vendor logs made my heart pound for the first time in a decade. Payments made to a company that doesn't exist. Repeated entries, same amount, same 3 initials, NVG. I didn't say anything that night. I went home. I poured a glass of wine. I looked at my resume and laughed. I wasn't done. I was just getting started, and Nathan Vaughn had no idea who he had just tried to erase. Like, share, and comment if you want to know what I did next. And don't forget to subscribe. The next morning, I arrived at the office at 6:15 a.m., a full hour before the building came to life. Security gave me a strange look when I swiped a visitor badge. "Thought you were," the guard mumbled, trailing off. "Just cleaning up a few things," I said with a smile. They always assumed I was too polite to be dangerous. I wasn't here to clean up. I was here to watch. I sat in the cafe across the street, black coffee in hand, laptop open, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as people started arriving. Nathan Vaughn came in at exactly 7:02 a.m., as he had every day since his appointment. Same routine, briefcase in the left hand, phone in the right, Bluetooth earpiece already in his ear like he was mid-deal. I opened the file I had mirrored from our finance servers the night before. One vendor name kept appearing over and over again in Q2 reporting, NV Group LLT. It didn't show up on any of our official vendor onboarding sheets. It wasn't listed in our compliance documents. No tax ID, no point of contact, just payment after payment, all approved by Vaughn, all signed off on a digital ID that wasn't even generated from our secure portal. He wasn't just hiding something, he was funneling funds. What neither of us realized at that moment, someone else was watching me too. At exactly 8:04 a.m., I received a message on my private Proton Mail account. No subject, no name, just a PDF attachment. It was a printout of an internal conversation between Vaughn and our offshore auditing partner in Singapore. The email header was redacted, but the timestamp was from 3 days ago. The final line of the email made my hands go cold. "Phase out Jennifer quietly. She's too embedded. Find a reason." They hadn't even planned to fire me this early. Something must have accelerated it. Maybe they realized I was getting close. But who sent this to me? No signature, no clue. I closed the laptop and walked back toward the building, slipping in behind a delivery crew. I still had my credentials for the executive lounge on the 31st floor. It used a separate badge access, one that hadn't yet been revoked, and in that lounge, sitting alone with a latte and two phones, was her, Maya, Nathan's executive assistant, mid-30s, meticulous, always stayed late, always stayed quiet, and now she looked up at me with a calm that felt unnatural. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "Then tell me why someone sent me an internal email about phasing me out." Her eyes didn't move. Her fingers gently folded a napkin on the table. "I didn't think you'd find out this fast." There it was, confirmation. "Maya," I said, keeping my voice low. "What is he doing?" She hesitated, then whispered, "He's not working alone." My stomach dropped. Before I could speak again, the elevator behind me dinged. Footsteps approached, heavy, confident, familiar. Nathan's voice cut through the air. "Jennifer," he said with a smirk, "I see you're having trouble letting go." I turned slowly. He was alone, but something in his eyes told me he didn't come up here by chance. And Maya? She didn't look surprised at all. That's when I realized I wasn't investigating a man. I was stepping into a trap. I didn't flinch. That was the trick. Never let them see the crack. Nathan was watching me for a reaction, but I kept my gaze level, just like I had in every boardroom budget war I'd survived over the last 14 years. "You're trespassing," he said, almost playfully. "Security's already been notified." I turned to Maya. "Are you sure you want to stay in this?" She blinked slowly, once. A silent apology? A signal? I couldn't tell. "I walked in with delivery staff," I said calmly to Nathan, turning back. "And last I checked, I'm still entitled to a 24-hour notice before termination. It's barely been 12. You walked out yesterday. You escorted me out. There's a difference." He smiled, but I saw the tension in his jaw. Control was important to men like him. Losing it, especially in front of someone like Maya, threatened his illusion of power. I stepped past him, deliberately brushing his shoulder. "I'll be gone by tonight," I said, "but not before I have my exit interview with HR." He snorted. "We both know HR works for me now." "Then maybe I'll just send a note directly to the board." With supporting documents, his smile dropped, only for a second. But I saw it. I left the lounge and took the back stairs down 2 floors. I couldn't use the elevators, not with Nathan watching, not with Maya possibly playing both sides. I needed more. I needed a copy of those audit transfer logs, the ones Vaughn had quietly rerouted through an external server farm in Delaware. That's where I saw it, the hidden line item buried deep in the consolidation sheet. Consulting fee, NVG Holdings, $870,000 approved by A. Hayes. That wasn't me. My middle name is Elaine. I never signed anything with an A. They'd faked the approval using my ID, and not just that one. Over a dozen entries, backdated, linked to projects I wasn't even assigned to. They weren't just pushing me out, they were framing me. My mind raced as I copied the logs onto a clean USB and slid it into the heel compartment of my leather boots. Custom made, no metal, nothing that'd show up in a search. As I headed for the lobby, I passed by one of the conference rooms. Through the glass, I saw something that made me stop cold. My husband, David Hayes, sitting across from Nathan Vaughn, laughing. Why was he here? He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this building. He worked in nonprofit logistics, no ties to Halverson and Knox, no reason to be having a private conversation with the man trying to destroy me. I ducked out of view. My pulse hit my ears. I couldn't breathe. I waited for them to come out. Nathan left first, alone. David followed 5 minutes later, taking a different elevator. I tailed him, across the street, into the underground parking structure beneath the public library. That's when I saw her. Maya, already there. They kissed. Not a friendly hug, not a mistake. A slow, intimate, practiced kiss. I stood there, frozen, watching my husband wrap his arms around the one person I had trusted inside that company. And suddenly, everything clicked. Maya wasn't helping me. She was the setup. And David, my husband of 11 years, he was the insurance policy they were burning me down from both ends. But I wasn't out yet. They didn't know I had the logs, the approvals, the timestamps, and now, a motive. Their motive. As I backed away into the shadows of the garage, heart pounding, one thought kept echoing in my head. If they want to play corporate warfare, they just picked the wrong strategist. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the living room couch, still in my work clothes, staring at the wall like it could give me answers. David didn't come home. At 1:14 a.m., I got a text. "Late night at the warehouse, don't wait up." Cold, robotic, almost like he knew I knew. The USB drive sat in my hand, still warm from the laptop. I'd copied everything: vendor logs, fake approvals, deleted internal memos I'd recovered from temporary folders. If I disappeared tomorrow, this little device would tell the whole story. But who would believe it coming from me, the woman under audit, whose name was already being scrubbed from the system? I needed someone above all of it, someone who hated corporate fraud even more than they hated HR delays. So, I made the call. "Haley Monroe, Investigative Counsel," the voice answered, sharp and alert despite the late hour. "Haley, it's Jennifer Hayes. You represented the class action in the Wexler Foods pension case 4 years ago." "I remember. What's going on?" I paused. "I think I'm being framed for a $2.7 million laundering scheme involving my CFO, and I think my husband's in on it." The line went quiet. Then, "Bring everything. Come alone." No calls, no texts. I left before sunrise. As I drove across the city, my thoughts looped. Every business dinner with David, every odd conversation over the past 3 months, every time Maya asked to run something by me casually, but then never followed up. They'd been conditioning me, isolating me, and the worst part? They almost succeeded. When I met Haley in the underground parking garage of her firm, I expected formality. Instead, she threw her trench coat around me like I was already a client and walked me straight into her office from the private elevator. "You've got 5 minutes," she said. "Start talking." I handed her the USB. As she scrolled through the documents, her expression shifted from skeptical to surgical. "This is good," she murmured, "but it's not enough." "What do you mean?" "You need a witness, someone inside, someone with real-time knowledge of the scheme and a reason to flip." I laughed bitterly. "They're all on his side." She looked up, eyes sharp. "Then make someone think they're on yours." That's when it hit me. I knew someone who wasn't loyal to Vaughn. Not fully. Someone who had watched from the sidelines, always quiet, always in the background. Jason, junior finance analyst, smart, overlooked. He once found a reconciliation error in Vaughn's report and was forced to retract it. He never said anything after, but his eyes had burned with humiliation. I just hoped he hadn't sold out completely. I texted him from a burner phone. "Jason, I know what Vaughn did to you. I need 5 minutes, no lies. I can prove everything." No response. But an hour later, I got a location drop. Level 4, parking structure beneath Ridgeway Cafe. Noon. I arrived early, waited in the shadows. Jason showed up exactly on time, hoodie up, looking around like he was delivering something illegal. "You've got 1 shot," he said. "If this is a trap, I'm done." I showed him the logs, the fake approvals, the Singapore emails, and the photo of David and Maya from across the garage. Jason's jaw clenched. I knew something was off. They asked me to help reclassify expense entries last week, told me not to ask questions. "You still have those files?" He nodded. I backed them up. Something told me I'd need them. We exchanged contact info, encrypted. If I was going to take down Vaughn and expose what my husband helped orchestrate, I needed Jason to testify. That night, as I walked into my apartment for what could be the last time, David was already sitting at the table. Dinner for 2. Steak, wine, candles. His smile was warm, practiced, too perfect. "You've been quiet lately," he said. I sat down slowly. "I've been watching," I replied. He tilted his head. "Watching what?" "You." And as I sipped the wine he poured, I made sure not to swallow. Because what neither of us realized, someone had already tipped him off. And this time, it wasn't Maya. I excused myself from the table, pretending to check a call. I didn't need a phone. I needed time. In the bathroom, I ran the faucet, opened the window just a crack, and spat the wine into a tissue. Then I flushed it. David never poisoned me, not that I knew of. But tonight wasn't about risk. It was about psychology, control. He wanted to see if I trusted him. He wanted me pliable, predictable. I stared at my reflection. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was about exposure. When I returned to the table, I smiled. Just enough. He leaned back in his chair, watching me like he always did when he was calculating his next step. "I've been thinking," he said casually, cutting into his steak. "Maybe you should take the severance and walk. We could use the time, travel, reset." "So you already knew," I said softly, "about Vaughn, about the termination." He didn't blink. "I hear things." "And Maya?" His knife paused mid-cut, a flicker of annoyance. "You really want to have that conversation right now?" I smiled wider. "Number, I want to have a different one." His brow furrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I reached into my bag and pulled out a small voice recorder. I clicked play. His voice from earlier in the evening filled the room. "You've been quiet lately." "Watching what?" "You." I stopped it before it reached my line. His face turned gray. "You're paranoid," he said. "No," I replied. "I'm precise." He stood, suddenly unsure. "What exactly is this?" "This is leverage. This is insurance. This is me, David, letting you know the audit trail ends with both of you, and the only person the board won't hesitate to believe is me." I stepped toward him, close enough to smell his cologne. "You and Vaughn made a mistake. You left too many threads. Jason has the reclassified files. Haley has the vendor logs. And I have you, drinking your wine with your lies on tape." For the first time in a decade, he looked scared. I walked away, not just from the table, from the marriage, from the setup, from the version of me that let any of this happen. The next morning, I walked into Halverson and Knox not as an employee, but as a whistleblower, accompanied by Haley Monroe. She handed a thick packet to the internal counsel and a second copy to the chairman of the board. Jason was already in a side room, giving his deposition under counsel supervision. Nathan Vaughn was escorted from the building by two internal security leads by 11:47 a.m. Maya didn't even pack her things. She disappeared before noon. HR couldn't find a trace. As for David, he tried calling, texting, even left a voicemail asking to talk things out. But it was too late. I had already submitted the recording and signed a sworn affidavit. His name was on 5 of the financial transfer approvals, and his access to our joint bank account revoked. By the end of Q3, I wasn't working at Halverson and Knox anymore. I was consulting for a federal task force on corporate compliance and internal fraud detection. My new title, Director of Ethical Financial Strategy. And every time someone asks me what pushed me into this new phase of life, I simply say, sometimes a boardroom betrayal is the best kind of clarity. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel if you believe in justice with receipts. And always watch the quiet ones, because they're never really quiet. They're just waiting.